Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, March 27th, and I hope everybody has had a great shelter-in-place week and are preparing for their plans for an amazing weekend. So here at the KSC Group, we've been working with industry partners and our clients and helping them to devise plans to understand what their policies and procedures are going to be going forward for April 1st rental collections, waiving late fees, payment plans, things of that nature. So I wanted to create this video just to share. There's been a lot of posts in all of the social media sites, and management companies are gathering plans. At the KSC Group, our concern is configuring software to help you with compliance of those strategies to minimize manual processes for the site staff. And I just put together a presentation. We'll have this on our website, or you can enter our website to the Connect with Us, and we'll be happy to get this for you. Also, if you have any questions, please just fill out the form, connect with us, and somebody from my team will get back with you regarding any questions that you may or may not have. So if you hear dogs barking, if you hear chaos in the background like everybody else, I too am shelter in place working from home. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I have a little presentation here. Basically, first of all, I have some disclaimers. The KSC Group, we are software consultants, so we're not going to provide legal advice. We expect our clients to have legal counsel or other legal avenues in order to obtain advice on how to manage policies and procedures. We're not going to provide accounting or CPA advice. We do know accounting software systems. We do know how to implement. We have accountants on staff, but when it comes to any kind of official reporting or auditing, we are not CPAs that give that type of advice. We're also not going to direct management companies on what they should do. That is up to the individual company. They understand their challenges and what they can and cannot do. What we know is that there are tons of small management companies that are going to be hit hard if people are unable to pay their rent in the month of April. So their plan and strategy may be different from a larger company that has more of an ability to take on a payment plan. We're going to highlight solutions that we've seen posted in social media sites on how to configure applications and how to accommodate the strategies that you are coming up with. We want to help you create processes that are smooth as possible for the site teams and that are heavily burdened at this time, and that at a time in the future that they can be undone if necessary or set back to your original policies and procedures. We're also sharing solutions from industry suppliers that we have seen on social media. There are so many industry partners wanting to help. So while we highlight a few that we've seen and or spoken to, this is not a complete list. So as always, work with the partners that you already have in place and there's plenty of resources available for other partners willing to help. Some other resources, and there are plenty. This is just a few. We have some outlined on our website as well. NAA, NMHC, of course, HUD.gov. The KSC Group, we have that under our news page. We have a lot of different links from industry partners and advisors. And there was an interesting, I'm in Dallas, Texas, in case anybody's wondering. My team, we have 16 folks on my team, and we're scattered all over the United States, Boston, Los Angeles, Orlando, Florida area, so Atlanta, Georgia. So we are actually able to tell you what's going on in our local area. But the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas was featured on Fox 4 News last night, and they were addressing some of these concerns for Dallas County, and I copied this link here. So first of all, what are some of the potential initiatives that people are wondering about, or management companies are wondering about? Waiving late fees, setting resident expectations, accepting partial payments, waiving online payment fees, rent flexibility options, electronic lease signature, renewals, revenue management, and resident communication are all projects or settings being discussed right now in various forms or fashion. So let's talk about waiving late fees. I think this is probably the most common practice. First and foremost, some in Dallas County, it has become accepted that or expected that late fees will be waived for the month of April. So first of all, your property management software provider has various settings in order to help you accomplish this. Sometimes you can just turn them off. Sometimes you'll charge them and then waive them. So option one is to waive the late fees. This is accomplished in the software platform. And late fees will not be posted, and therefore income will not be tracked. So that's one thing in option one. And option two is where you allow the late fees to post, and then you go in and reverse the late fee. When you're using this option, you're basically just reversing it back to the transaction or charge code that you've selected. We're recommending a third option and not setting up a concession for your late fee. We're also recommending that you create a GL account that you are using to actually track income loss during this natural disaster, disaster. At some point in time, you might need to report to insurance agencies or get some sort of help plan or assistance, and you're going to want to separate the income that you lost. And so go ahead and charge the late fees to the ledger because the resident was in fact late, but then immediately go in and under your waive late fee concession code, have it hit an alternate GL account so that you can run transaction reports and see exactly how much income that you have been accommodating. If you have any questions, just let us know. Resident expectations, you've all been dealing with this. I've read a lot of board posts and things like that the staff are just receiving right now a high volume of calls regarding rent on April the 1st. It seems that there's an expectation that people are not, that they believe that they don't have to pay April rent. They don't see that the programs are more geared toward deferment and not necessarily non-payment. So these are overwhelming calls. Also, what's confusing is that the courts are setting expectations that they're not going to be evicting for a certain amount of time. And I believe on the news with the stimulus package that was passed, there was a 90-day mandatory moratorium on no evictions. That doesn't mean that rent doesn't eventually get paid or evictions don't go back into place. When the moratorium lifts, somebody with outstanding rent is still going to have to pay you the rent that's owed. So proactive communication is key. Email, text, letter posted on the office door stating that rent is due per the terms of their lease agreement, and anyone experiencing a financial hardship should communicate with the office immediately. And we have an electronic form. I'm going to pause for a minute so I can open that up for you. We've actually created a form, and there's a link on the presentation. It's a URL. So we use a package or tools that can create these forms that are basically Word forms or other forms, but they can appear, you can embed them in an email and send them over. And so we've created a hardship request form. And also it allows you to upload documents. So if they have, if part of your criteria is you're requiring proof of financial hardship, whether that be a letter of unemployment, and they can upload it here. And then this gathers into, you can point this to a spreadsheet or a secured Dropbox or some sort of a folder. So we can definitely help you out in any way to kind of streamline some of these forms that you're trying to collect in an online method as opposed to a paper method. So also in your email and your text or the letter that you're posted, you want to make sure to provide a clear method of contact or an alternate phone number, especially if the site is not working in the office. I know a lot of companies are doing part-time in the office, part-time at home, and outline the criteria for proof of financial hardship and have a response prepared. If your response is that you're offering alternate forms or solutions for rental assistance, you can have those as well. So many of you are already doing these and proactively communicating with your managers. All right, accepting partial payments. This can be accomplished by updating settings in the online payment section of the software platform that you've chosen. There's a lot of, like, if you've gone in and worked with your implementation team and you've said that as a policy we don't accept partial payments, or we only accept cashier's funds after a certain amount, you can definitely go in and change those settings. The software in the property management system may also need to be updated to not allow partial payments. And then as a recommendation, I suggest placing a calendar item so that when you want to revert those settings back, if you're only honoring that for the month of April, then have a calendar item that as of May 1st or even April 25th, you might want to go in and update those settings. And also, once again, have a communication plan with your residents regarding possible payment options when applicable. Waiving online payment fees. There's a couple of different ways that you're going to need to accomplish this. First of all, payments, online payments now more than ever are extremely important. You're wanting social distancing, you're wanting to limit folks coming into the office. I know that some companies have implemented the old Dropbox that they got rid of a while back. So they can pick up the payments and scan. So if you're wanting to waive fees, there's a couple of different ways. You can create a concession code. So first of all, the fees have to get paid. Fees will be paid. I have not seen any of the banking industry necessarily halting any fee assessment. And there's two types of fees. There's an ACH fee, where you're drafting it straight out of their bank account. These fees typically are smaller and easier to accommodate. And then there's a credit card fee, which varies. And like I said, it really depends on who your payment solutions provider is. If those fees go straight to the solutions provider, typically what you'll want to do then is create a concession code for waiving payment fees. And when the resident comes in and provides you with proof of fees that they paid, if you want to give them a concession for that amount, then you would apply that concession directly to their ledger. Once again, I would recommend putting that to some sort of an alternate GL account so that you're tracking any kind of fees that lost revenue or lost income or accommodations that you made. Another option is to call your software provider. A lot of them are extremely accommodating and very quick to help you out. When you do call them and you determine which fees that you're going to take over, clearly communicate with them that you're willing to take on all ACH payments, but if a resident chooses credit cards, that they'll still be responsible for that fee. Or you can take on both fees. So once again, communication with your software provider is key. Rent flexibility offers. NMHC has some great posts on communications and considerations. If I were copy and pasting exactly the directives they've given in email and or text and resident communications, they were spot on. You may want to have, I know a lot of companies are compiling lists of local resources and referring residents to programs and companies that can assist with rental payments and for that nature, all sorts of assistance. It could be, you know, you're making sure, did they, you know, begin the unemployment paperwork process? Did they, you know, is there a food bank or churches or United Way? So there's a lot of other programs. People are wanting to help. I know Demuso is an industry supplier that offers installment loans. So I've created a link here. I know that there's other companies out there that do have promissory notes and agreements. It's going to be very important that you define your process for determining residents in need of assistance. At this time, there are residents who are not unemployed, that are fully working and fully capable of paying their April rent, that seem to be calling and asking if their rent is going to be waived. So that's out there. Once again, we've also created an electronic form or a sample, so you can contact us for details. Setting up the software payment plan, you can work directly with your software provider. A lot of them have already provided workbooks and or assistance, and they've either emailed that to you in links, or they are having tools on their website or their client portals. So if you're not sure about setting up a payment plan in your software today, you can either work directly with your software provider, or once again, just reach out to us and we can help in any way, give you guidance on that. So first step is when you are agreeing to defer payment and come up with payment arrangements, you have to define what it is that you're wanting to do. Some companies are just deferring payment and they expect payment in full by, say, June or July. Some are doing an actual repayment plan over their remaining lease agreement stage. So you need a legal and binding agreement, and I recommend one that can be electronically signed. I know Blue Moon has released an addendum that can be used, and I know some companies are coming up with addendum as well. Aptly has a form as well on their website that can be used. So a lot of the vendors in our industry are putting together addendums and things like that, and they're offering them free to use during this time. You're going to charge rent as you normally do on April the 1st, and you're going to create a credit or a concession code that you're going to apply to rent. That way your GPR and everything stays intact, and the rent is not going to show up on your delinquency. Now, that records that to a credit code or a concession code. Then you're going to want to create your reoccurring charge code or a charge code that you're going to use to post back the bulk of the rent that you want to be part of the payment plan. There's two different ways to view this. You can keep that other income in bulk charge. So if you are doing a payment plan for $1,000, you create that charge code and you can leave it on their ledger, and you just know that it's going to appear on your delinquency report until it's paid in full, and each month it goes down. On your aging delinquency report, you'll see it move from the 30-day column to the 60-day column to the 90-day column and so forth. That's one method. That gives you visibility into the total balance owed. And if they were to move out, you would be able to bring that in as part of your deposit disposition and apply the deposit toward it. There wouldn't be, the sites wouldn't have to research any remaining balance. So the second method is to create a recurring charge code that has a start and an end date based on the repayment plan that you've agreed to. So it'll charge that amount every month. And you need to make sure that if they do move out early, or maybe they're not going to renew their lease and they only have 2 months based on the payment plan, that you charge that up to their ledger during the deposit disposition phase. So once again, we can help with that. There's a lot of checklists and balances and ways to record this information. So that's how you would set up the software payment plan in this system. And several of the software providers today have that information. Electronic lease signature and conventional sites, and these are geared toward conventional sites that are not already using electronic leases. So if you haven't implemented some sort of a digital lease program and you're trying to come up with one pretty quickly, a lot of the industry suppliers and property management software providers have fast track programs to get this process up and running quickly. I've seen a couple of them post, contact us, we'll get you running pretty quickly. Now, you can also utilize software programs such as DocuSign for sending signatures. The site will need to create a DocuSign account and also be trained on how to send this for signatures. So typically, however you populate your lease agreements, if you have a manual Word document, you would need to populate that information ahead of time, convert it to a PDF, and then send it to your resident for signature. So that also invites resident and applicants may need some support if they're not familiar with how to electronically sign those documents, or that the documents don't go into a junk folder. So just be prepared to help walk through your staff with both, populating the lease document and also sending it out for signature. Also, HUD is allowing electronic leases to be signed and applications to be signed and paperwork to be signed electronically for a short amount of time. Stipulations do apply. I've been speaking with Mary Ross over at the Ross Business Development. I've created a link here. She has some amazing resources and online forms that you can use free of charge. She's converted a lot of those input information in there for how to use them during this time period. The stipulation typically is that wet signatures or actual signatures will be required at a future date, and that as they're completing this information, if we're not able to verify that they're self-verifying, but that if that information comes back false, that there will be repercussions for presenting false information. We actually have created an affordable rental application as well. Once again, using that same type of tool that we discussed. This is an application, so you can embed it in an email, send it out to your applicant, and they walk through and complete all the information. There's 4 parts to it. It's, they can add different folks that are going to be in the apartment. Select next. At the end of it, it'll give them the opportunity. There's basically 4 sections, and at the end of it, it'll give them the opportunity to upload documentation, driver's license, paycheck stubs. This is an encrypted form, and then the information, the sensitive information, can be saved into an encrypted Dropbox or different folder. From that point, your site staff then would be able to take this information, manually enter it into your property management software, and continue with the process. We're also working on the key verification documents to be able to also send links out to them for them to fill out, and or send to other folks to fill out and verify, encrypt the information. This is just meant to be a temporary solution. So if there's any interest, reach out to us and we'll be able to work with you further. Okay. So that's pretty much it on the electronic leases. Renewals. A lot of management companies are not prevented from increasing rent during this time. They're probably choosing not to because it's the nice thing to do, but they're not prevented from sending out renewal notices with increases. What I have seen is management companies are doing an extension of the end date. So if your lease is ending, say at the end of April or at the end of May, you can sign an agreement with them and extend that period to say end at the end of June. And then at that time, you'll get a renewal notice. Now, there are some documents that you want to sign and have in place that you're agreeing to an extension. It's different than a month to month. A month to month, typically, you're letting your lease expire, and then you could be charged at a higher market rate or higher fees. So we've got a couple of companies that are just going in and deferring the lease end date out about 60 days. Also, management companies are going back to renewal notices that they've sent out in the last 60 days that were coming due maybe for signature in the month of April, and they're actually sending out a revised renewal offer that has a 0 rental increase. So while that does have some repercussions, you know, they signed a 12-month lease, 13-month lease, they're going to be at their current rate for an extended period. But I think resident retention efforts are just extremely important during this time. So those are a couple of what we've seen in the renewal area. Revenue management, this is quite the hot topic. There's several amazing revenue management tools. And for those of you who implemented these tools, what you find is that it took a little bit to get into that sweet spot, right? Because you all work together as a team, you met as a team, you worked with your pricing advisor, and then you got everything kind of dialed in both on your new leases and move-ins and your renewals. So now you're really unsure about, you know, how that data is going to be provided, since you're going to be kind of circumventing and going off manual. I actually would highly recommend you not turning off these tools. I've had some of my clients want to turn off the tools. And what I am recommending that is you continue to work closely with your pricing advisor, that if you're on some sort of an automated pricing acceptance, you turn that off for a time being, and you work with them and manually accept and or reject prices that you're comfortable with during this time. Because remember, that tool, you purchase that tool because it knows the marketplace and it's going to be looking forward. And during these times of crisis, it may give some prices that you're not comfortable with for a few days, but it will adjust. And turning it off and letting it lie dormant for 90 days and then wanting to re-implement, that system is going to take some more time to kind of catch back up. Whereas if you just go into a manual override and you are manually accepting prices, then the system is going to adapt and it's going to smooth it out. So anyway, just like I said, work very closely with your pricing advisor and your software management, your software team on the best method. And if you can, turn it off. Resident communications. Several property management software platforms already have included text and email capabilities built into these platforms. You may not be aware of them. So first stop is to the 4 or 5 that come to mind. Those are already tools that are enabled or available to you. I know some of the software platforms, if it was an extra module, they have already included and broadcasted that those are free to you for a period of time. Sample communications are provided on the NAA and NMHC websites. Definitely review those. Always consult legal professionals when communicating sensitive information to your residents. And suppliers in the industry are providing free communication tools during COVID-19 crisis. Mobile Doorman is one example. If you go on their website and you download or sign up for their service, by March 31st, you're going to get that service for free. I know Entrada had announced that their message center is also free for a period of time. So the suppliers in our industry are amazing and they care about you, and you just need to reach out to them. And the KSC Group, of course, we're here to help. We're a team of software experts across multiple platforms. We want to serve our industry during this time of crisis. All right, so I'm going to go off script here, and I'm going to let you know that I came into this business in 1990. I was 25 years old. In this industry, I have raised a family. My family actually works with my company. They have been my family through the good times and the bad. And we've seen some great times and we've seen some tough times, and we have survived hurricanes and fires and floods and earthquakes. And we're going to survive this. And that's why it's called multifamily. And yeah, I'll get emotional and I will tear up because I don't like to see my industry in pain. So I'm a nerd. I have software knowledge, and I have a team of nerds with software knowledge. They probably don't want me calling them nerds, but we're very smart, techie people. And what we want is to serve our industry. So ask us a question. There's some forms you can just go in and send us an email. And if you need some advice, that's what we want to do. If we don't know it, we probably know other people who do. So let us know and we'll try and point you in the right direction. I know this week we've spent being prepared for next week. And so any way we can help, let us know. Like I said, we're not going to give you legal advice. We're not going to give you accounting advice. We're here to help you configure your software application to comply with what you're trying to do. And we are very well versed on multiple software platforms. Sometimes people think that we only have one wheelhouse, but that's not true. And like I said, there are 16 different people on the team that have done this for quite some time. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to impart with you. And we're here for you if you need us. And we're still checking social boards and all of the social media sites and continue to make posts and hopefully, like the rest of our industry, give you some helpful guidance. So happy Friday, everybody. And I find it very ironic that rent day is April 1st. So take care and be safe.